welcome to 1923 Main Street,
home of the Daddy-Daughter Disney Travel Podcast. We are your hosts.
I am Mike Belobradic.
And I'm Amelia Belobradic. And join us as we take an insider's look at one of the original Walt Disney World Resort hotels.
And which one is that?
The Contemporary.
Disney's Contemporary Resort. And now pop quiz, one of three. Name the other two that were open in October
Polynesian and
1971.
Fort Wilderness.
Correct. So we will talk
Although
today.
I don't really consider Fort Wilderness a resort.
It is a resort.
Is it?
In fact, it's very resort-like. It's quite large. But today, we're going to talk about Disney's Contemporary Resort. And before we even begin, I just want to ask you right off the top, in your time traveling to Walt Disney World, do you like Disney's Contemporary Resort?
Yeah, I really like it, actually.
Okay, because I find it to be...
It's one of my favorites.
I find it to be one of the most sort of contentious of the originals. It's sort of, some people really don't like it. Some people love it. I feel like it's one of those love it or hate it sort of hotels.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a little bit different than the other ones. And we'll talk about some of that right off the top here. But it was one of the original ones. Now, do you remember a cast member at the Polynesian maybe a year or two ago told us the story of so the Polynesian and the Contemporary were the first two hotels and the campground, but which one opened first? And it's a bit of a tricky answer. Do you remember the answer?
Well, technically the Polynesian opened first, but I think he said that the Contemporary actually had the first guest.
Yes, that's correct.
To stay there.
He said the Polynesian was technically the first one to be ready and open, and they held the dedication ceremony at the Polynesian before the Contemporary opened, but the Contemporary was the first one to actually have someone stay overnight. So they were the first one to welcome a guest, as he said.
So in my opinion, the Contemporary opened first.
Yeah, that's what, because I'd always thought, the Contemporary opened first.
Then...
Exactly. But that's a little Disney trivia. If anyone out there needs some sort of tricky question like that to stump a friend, technically, according to this Disney cast member at the Polynesian opened first. And I'll tell you another bit of trivia. I don't think you know this. The Contemporary was not actually the original name before it opened. They had another name for the hotel, which I'm glad they did not use.
I think you told me this once, but I can't
sort of a
remember.
variation. It was the working name for the hotel. I don't think you'll like this, but you tell me. It was the Tempo Bay Hotel.
Oh yeah, you did tell me this.
Did you like that? I'm really glad they did not go with Tempo Bay.
I think the Contemporary sounded better. I liked the blank bay, but why Tempo?
Well, it's contemporary, right?
No.
It was so clearly they always had this contemporary style hotel in their mind. And I don't know, Tempo Bay, but there's nothing that's called Tempo
what about
Bay.
Contempo Bay?
Yeah. Well, the Contempo Cafe.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, which is probably why it's named that. But yeah, Tempo Bay. I'm glad they did not go with that. And this hotel, so the original hotel, there's some stories around it. So the beef against it that I hear most often is it has no personality. When you think of all the other hotels, the deluxe resorts in particular, they all have a very distinct theme, right?
Do they?
Yeah, they do. But the Contemporary, Contemporary just means sort of modern, and some people say, but it's bland. It has no theme.
No, its theme is upscale. Its theme is like a little shopping plaza because that's where all the shops are. That's what I think its theme is.
Its theme is supposed to be that it's modern and contemporary, but some people by Disney terms say, well, it's just bland, right? I have to say, growing up, I could sort of understand that.
Yeah, I think it has maybe less of a personality than the other ones, but I think it does still have a personality, even if it's not quite as evident as, say, the Grand Floridian or the Polynesian.
I agree with that. And it's sort of meant, so a little bit more of the history is originally they had planned to, it looks futuristic, is what they think, what I think too. And it's right next to Tomorrowland.
Now it looks modern because,
yeah,
I guess 70s futuristic is
exactly
today.
But they originally had a plan to make it almost part of Tomorrowland, that you could walk from Tomorrowland right to your hotel, that it was an extension of the park, which I think is very cool. I've always wanted them to build a hotel in a park. And well, they are with the new Star Wars hotel that's coming. And we have that in Paris, which is awesome, with the Disneyland hotels, and even in the Grand Californian.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disneyland, going into California Adventure. So that was sort of the plan, that it was an extension of Tomorrowland. And that's why it looked sort of futuristic and all that. But the Contemporary, obviously as a kid starting there in the 70s, going every year, we spent a lot of time because there was only Fort Wilderness, the Contemporary, and Polynesian. And we would go for 2 weeks at a time, sometimes 3 weeks at a time. So you spend a lot of time just hanging out. So I spent a lot of time in the Contemporary. And it's grown on me over the years. At first, I was sort of one of those, it doesn't have a lot of style, but it sort of grows on you. It's a little bit odd. I'll give that in terms of theming. What's your favorite thing about the hotel?
I really like it, and I have to say it's probably in my top 5 hotels.
Okay, can you explain why you like it?
Well,
off the top of your head.
I like it because it's very soundproof. So I like it because it's one of the originals, so the walls, they're very good. And even if you have really noisy neighbors, you won't hear them as much. So I think I always get a really nice sleep there. And I really like how the balconies overlook the scenery. And I like the food there also. I love Chef Mickey's, and I think it's really great for me because you don't have to travel far. If you're having a breakfast there, you just go downstairs.
Yeah, that's true.
You're there.
Let's hope they bring those characters back soon, because as we record this, in COVID times, things are a little bit different than what would be normal. But yeah, you're hitting on. I made a list here of my top 5 my top 5 reasons to stay there, and that's why I just wanted to ask you before you looked at that, which you're now looking at. I wanted to see, and you've hit on a bunch of the things. So if someone said to me, why should I stay there, right? Why would I choose this over anything else? These are my top 5. So I had number 1, location, right? For me, the location is amazing.
Location is great.
It's super close, as we just said. You can't walk to Tomorrowland, but you can walk to the front gates of the Magic Kingdom, which currently, until they complete the Grand Floridian pathway, it's the only one within walking distance.
Yeah.
So it's a great location. And related to that is number 2, which you also said, there's great views.
Yeah, the views are really beautiful. And it's because it was supposed to be generally into Tomorrowland, you can also see the fireworks really well, depending on which side.
And that's what
the building you're on.
This is it's like we planned it, even though we actually did not. That's what I love about it. It's one of the only hotels, or it might be, where you actually have all these views. If you stay on the Bay Lake side, you look at Bay Lake, which I really love, actually. It's quieter, it's more serene. You look at the water. You can still see some of the Epcot show and Hollywood Studios from that side. Or if you stay on the other side of the hotel, it looks at Seven Seas Lagoon. It's a completely different view. And you look at the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian and the Magic Kingdom. So it really has a lot of variety in its views.
I don't think you can get a bad view there.
Well, you do. As you also said, really, I think you said, but what we always do is request an upper floor.
Oh, yeah.
And also, here's my tip. I'm just going to keep playing off things you've mentioned. You mentioned Chef Mickey's.
Yes.
So when Chef Mickey's is in full swing, it's pretty loud in there. So remember when we went on Daddy-Daughter Disney 4D? Our Daddy-Daughter Disney, what was the 4th D? Days. Daddy-Daughter Disney Days. That was an Amelia and I only trip. We did stay at the Contemporary.
Yeah. I think.
And we got a perfect room. I requested. Yeah. Always request a room. I've said this before. Upper floor towards. This time we had a lake view because I like that. I don't like overlooking the parking lot, even though you look at the Magic Kingdom. So I really like the lake view. It's more serene, even though you overlook the pool and all that. But if you have an upper floor close to Bay Lake Tower, which we'll touch on soon, then you are away. Because the Grand Canyon Concourse, the inside of the Contemporary is huge, right? It is a massive, Grand Canyon after it's named. So sound, the upside is it feels really cool and it's open. The downside is sound echoes around in there like mad. And when Chef Mickey's is in full steam, if you have a hotel room close to it, right over it, you'll hear it.
It's not that bad, though, because the walls
we were
are
far away.
So well made.
And that's another thing. Because the hotel was built in this modular style, the way the Polynesian was. So what they did was they built the huge A-frame of the Contemporary, but they built the hotel rooms off-site. And then they came and they slid them into the slots. It's really cool. You can find pictures of it. In the Polynesian, they sort of stacked them. It's a little bit different. But because they did it that way, they built them off-site somewhere, and then they just slid the rooms in.
How does that work?
It's not like the current construction. So they are the quietest rooms in all of Walt Disney World. You will rarely, if ever, hear anything from a room next door, unless you have a connecting door. And also, they're the biggest. They're among the biggest, like studio, regular rooms. are very large. So yeah, it's the rooms there are
It's
great.
one of the
They're
reasons I
big.
love to stay
Yeah,
there.
they're big and they're quiet. I love to stay there for that too. But request an upper floor is my advice. And I like the Bay Lake view, but the other view is great too. You can watch fireworks. And you're going to get a lot more of the booming noise from Happily Ever After if you're on the other side. But you know, just keep you up every night at 10 or whatever
Maybe
time the show is when you're
maybe
there.
you love that song. You can't stop singing it, so maybe you don't
That's
mind
you.
that
I'm
noise.
still a Wishes fan. I'm
I
still a
love
Wishes fan.
Wishes, but I'm sorry, that song.
It's all right. I
It's
don't
the
mind it.
catchiest song that's
So,
ever been in a Disney
Top
fireworks
5
show.
location. Great views in 2 directions or more. If you go up to California Grill, we haven't even got great dining. Oh, number 3, great dining. Okay, great dining. California Grill.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. I was just thinking
Awesome
Chef Mickey's
upscale
Contempo
restaurant.
Cafe.
Yeah, used to be way back in the day when we were a kid, the top of the world sort of nightclub. We'd try to sneak into with fake ID underage, but
I'm sorry.
what? Who said that? Yeah, but
Great
it's a
example.
it's a great. You've got that. You've got Chef Mickey's. You've got the Wave, which I'm not a fan of. People, I'm sorry, I don't really like the Wave. I don't think it's a great resort.
I don't mind a
hotel.
wave.
You got the Sandbar outside. There's lots of good dining there. Definitely.
Yeah.
Contempo Cafe is pretty good quick service as well. They always have some pretty good stuff there, in my opinion. Some cool desserts usually as well. So really, really good for dining. Decent shopping. There's some pretty good shopping.
We
The
always go
LBV
shopping
store
there.
and the toy store
Yeah,
and then the
candy
market.
shop.
Yeah, it's
The
used to
candy
be a liquor store, I believe, if I recall correctly. The candy shop.
Really?
Yeah. And then, so good dining, big rooms. And my last one, my number 5, is sort of an intangible, but it is the monorail cool factor.
What's the monorail cool factor?
Well, you know what it's like when you're in the lobby and the monorails whoosh by right inside? It still to this day is so cool to have the monorails go through the lobby. It's the
I
only
don't know why
hotel
they
where
don't do that more often. That's one of the best things about
I
the
know. They go
Contemporary.
through the Polynesian and Grand Floridian, but they're outside, really,
Yeah.
right? They don't actually go inside the hotel like that. So to this day, 50 years later, it's still so cool. So I
Because
really
you see
like
the
that.
track, and then you see like the little dome where the monorail goes through from the outside of the Contemporary.
And people are looking down on you if you're dining in there, and you can wave at them, and they all want to stay there usually, especially if it's the express monorail.
Yeah,
I remember Mummy used to say when she was a kid going there with her family, and she said, "Oh, I wish we could stay there," because they'd be in the express monorail loop, which just whooshes through, without stopping. So that's pretty cool. But the Contemporary main tower, of course, is not the only resort on that property now.
yes, Bay Lake.
Yes, Bay Lake Tower, the Disney Vacation Club Tower, which I can't remember the exact year, but it opened right around the year you were born.
Yeah, I was
Sometime
gonna
around,
say.
2008, 2009, it opened. We are DVC members at that resort hotel, so we spend a lot of time at Bay Lake and the Contemporary.
And then I love the connecting bridge, which is another great reason to stay there as well.
So Bay Lake took the outer buildings away. There are still some outer buildings on the other side of the hotel, the lower outer buildings. I do not
Really?
recommend. Yeah, I don't recommend staying in those. They're not. Some of them don't even
Those are
have
still a
balconies.
thing.
Yeah, they may, if rumors hold true, be gone for a second Bay Lake Tower, as we've mentioned before.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know. That has not been officially announced. It's just rumor at this point, but a lot of those rumors do come true. So let me ask you this. Bay Lake Tower, Disney Vacation Club Tower, exclusively part of the Contemporary Resort property. It's all villas, right?
Yeah.
Studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. Which do you prefer staying in, Bay Lake Tower or the main resort
Oh,
hotel?
Contemporary.
Why?
Always. And it's not specifically for the Contemporary. I just prefer to stay in the main resort to villas
Why?
because, well, I'm a very
Sell
la-
me.
I'm a
Sell
very
me on
lazy
why.
person, and I already have to walk to the park when we stay there. I don't need to have to walk all around to get to any dining, or because I like the monorail as well. I love the views. I think the views are better on the Contemporary Resort than Bay Lake, which makes no sense because they're right there. But personally, I prefer the views, and it's so much quieter.
Yes.
It's quieter. You always complain about the Bay Lake noise.
Yeah, Bay Lake is a little bit of although you know what? It's still one of the quietest of the DVC properties.
Yeah, but compared to the Contemporary.
Yeah, and the rooms are small. The Bay Lake
Yeah, it's
stu-
surprising because
the
they're very
studios.
close to each other, but
Exactly. the rooms are small even among DVC sort of properties. The studios are among the smallest, so if you can afford a one-bedroom there, then do it.
Yeah.
But the studios, I mean, we stay in them, but we're only a family of 3. So 4 in there would be a squeeze, I would say. 3, it's okay. But you do get the, of course, Disney Vacation Club amenities of kitchenettes or kitchens and laundry and all this sort of stuff when you stay in Bay Lake.
But normally when we stay at Bay Lake in the Contemporary, I think it has one of the best dining for hotels. I think it's a close second to the Grand Floridian.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I prefer it over the dining at the Polynesian next door. Let me ask you this now. We have not talked about pools. So the Contemporary has a large fun pool with an okay slide. It's sort of small. So they could possibly up that slide. And it also has like an adult pool sort of out on the lake area.
Yeah.
But Bay Lake also has its own pool.
Now the Bay Lake pool.
All right, tell me, which pool do you
No.
prefer?
The Contemporary. The Bay Lake pool is just...
I like the Bay
It's
Lake
not
pool.
doing it for me.
But the Bay Lake slide is better. Do you remember the Contemporary slide? It's sort of low and slow. It's like low and slow, like barbecue.
I don't mind it. It's fine for me.
Do you? Yeah. I prefer the Bay Lake slide.
It's different
I actually
speeds
prefer
for
the Bay
different
Lake
people.
pool. The Contemporary pool is much bigger. I'll give you that. It's much larger. It's got the cabanas. It's sort of a more wide open, spread open pool. Whereas the Bay Lake pool is more closed in. You'd have to be a member to stay there.
It's really like a fence around the Bay Lake pool.
Yeah,
I feel so
fenced in.
trapped.
It is smaller. I mean, I
It feels
guess
like so
that.
tiny. It's smaller than our pool.
No, it's not that small, but it's small.
I don't know.
But they're, you know what? They're both good. And the beauty, I guess one
They're
of the
both good.
one of
but
the benefits of staying at Bay Lake, if you are and remember, even if you're not Disney Vacation Club members, you can stay at any Disney Vacation Club resort. Just if there's rooms available, you can do it as cash, which is always an option for larger families. But if you stay there, you actually get access to both pools. So you have added options of Bay Lake Tower pools or
I don't
a
know why
pool.
you would choose to go to the Bay Lake Tower pool.
It also
like,
has that private beach area that we talked about. in
Other
another
than the
episode.
slide, I can see you wanting to go for the slide, but if you're not going to use the slide, I don't see why you would go to the Bay Lake pool when you have the Contemporary option.
I guess if you're staying there and it's closer by a few steps. It's not really far to anything.
No, it's not.
It's pretty good. And there's tennis courts which are beside the Bay Lake Tower. And they've had tennis courts there since the beginning. I think they moved them when they built the tower.
Yeah,
but
that's another reason I like to stay there, because there's a courts, and also that's normally when we stay there, that's when we rent the sea racers.
yes, for
Because
some
they're
reason.
right there.
They used to have water skiing and the paragliding, and I'm not sure
Really?
if they still do. I haven't seen it in recent years, but maybe they still do. So there's a lot of water sports there.
There's water skiing.
Water skiing on, and they still have the markers in the water, so maybe there is. I have not water skied there.
So
I have parasailed many years ago there, though.
we're going to do that, people. Tell him we're going to do
I
that.
think you want to learn to water ski before you go there to learn, but I don't think you want to be sitting in that water for too long learning. Not from alligators, just from potential bacteria. I mean, as you know, we used to swim in those lakes for 20 years as kids, 15 years, however long they were open, 10 years at least. And now, because of the bacteria, they've stopped the swimming. There's that bacteria that can grow in the southern
Really?
states. Yeah.
This is why it's not a problem
But that
with the
aside,
boats.
it is a great resort for pretty much all amenities.
Yeah, because I think you said that the Contemporary is a love-hate thing. So why do people hate it?
Because
What's wrong with it?
a lot of people will prefer the Polynesian, for example, which is, so here's the choice. The Grand Floridian's in a sort of a league of its own. We've done 2 episodes on that. So if you like the Grand or you want to know more about it, we have part 1 and part 2. So much to talk about there. We had to have 2 episodes, but that's that's the top tier within the top tier.
Yeah.
But then it comes a lot of people will decide if they want to stay in the Magic Kingdom area, which I highly recommend, and you want to be on the monorail loop, so that discounts Wilderness Lodge, they're going to pick between the 2 originals, the Polynesian and the Contemporary.
No.
So let's talk about
Really?
that.
Why?
Well, because those are the 2 on the monorail loop. So you've got a choice
Grand
of those
Floridian,
2.
Grand Floridian.
No, I said not including that. That's
Oh.
more expensive. So if you take out the
Oh,
Grand
yeah.
Floridian for price and you take out Wilderness Lodge because it's not actually on the monorail loop, you're looking at Polynesian and the Contemporary, the 2 originals.
Oh, this is no question.
Well, I'm guessing you're going to say Contemporary.
Yeah.
But a
'cause
lot of people will say
I love
Polynesian.
Contemporary, but also not just because I think I like the Contemporary so much, but because I I don't dislike the Polynesian, but I feel that it's not up to the standards that it once was.
Yes, I agree with that. It shows its age more.
Yeah, it's sort of slipping.
Maybe because it's the sort of wood style design versus the concrete and steel design of the contemporary.
Not careful, it'll be the next Narcoossee's.
So, but a lot of people like the sort of island Polynesian casual theming better than the contemporary.
And I agree, the theming, but really, you have to ask yourself, why are you staying there?
Exactly. That's a very good point. Because you really don't walk around the grounds of the contemporary. It's so big. Everything is in that main building.
Who goes to Disney to walk around the hotel?
I love walking around the hotel grounds. But I actually do go on walks around them. So I don't go there to do that, but I like the option.
And when you go on these walks, how many other people do you see?
Lots of people walk around. You know, not everybody sits on their phone or by the pool like you do.
Well, some people are asleep at that hour.
Or sleep all their day. Well, you mean at the 6 a.m. walk?
Yes, 6 a.m. all day
When
long.
you once left me a note saying, why did you go on a walk without me?
You should check out that note on Twitter.
Yeah, that note is on my Twitter feed. It's a classic, Amelia. But nonetheless, a lot of people will prefer the Polynesian because
Why?
Do you admit that theming, you know, you can see, oh, this is sort of cool.
I think it's better themed than the contemporary, but I don't know. I don't think they did enough with the theming. I think the Polynesian theming, they could have done so much more.
Like what? Even though we're not talking about that today. Now you've got me curious.
Well, like, they have the buildings, and they just sort of, if they're using the Hawaiian theme, they could have gone so much more into the Hawaiian. And
well, it's South Pacific. That's why they're named Fiji and you know, Tokelau. They're all the different. One of them is Hawaii. So it's broader. It's the South Pacific, all the islands. So they did try to mishmash, and originally they weren't going to be longhouses either. They were going to be more of a Hawaiian village, and then they broadened it out. So that's the history on that one. But still, I think, you know, you've got to admit the theme, at least it's easier to understand.
No, the theming, I will admit, is better, but the Polynesian's lacking, and even the rooms, they need to be updated.
Yeah.
Actually, whereas the contemporary rooms, they're modern. They don't seem to
Yeah, so it's true
updated.
that modern contemporary look, it's more ageless. Like, to me, the contemporary is an icon of Disney, almost like the castle. When you see that hotel, you know immediately there's nothing that looks like it.
Yeah.
And I've heard people compare it to cruise, like it looks like a cruise ship.
I was going to say that. On the inside, it's it's almost like the deck of a cruise ship, because you have the resorts and then you have like the stacked
well, there was a time,
hallways.
And I've got to look again. So you think of
Not
the
inside.
outside.
The inside.
But think of the inside. They used to have the colors on the bottom of those stacks because it's called the Grand Canyon Concourse inside.
Really?
And so the Grand Canyon has different colors and the layers of rock inside. So when you looked up, you would see like different shades on the bottom. And I really can't remember right now if it's still like that. It was like that for many years. So they just sort of played with that. And that concourse, you never saw it, obviously, when I was a kid 50 years ago. It's gone through some pretty ugly stages. Just sort of weird. Because it doesn't have a tight theme, they keep updating it with whatever they feel is contemporary. And some of it through the 70s was pretty... It would be super dated today, whereas Polynesian theming is timeless, or Victorian theming of the Grand Floridian is timeless,
because
or Beach Club theming is timeless.
The Victorian theming is past already.
Yeah, all of those other themes.
The past isn't changing.
Exactly, unless you're a politician trying to change the past. But generally,
we are not. This is not a political.
That's
podcast.
correct. It's not. But so. That's one of the sort of people see
unless you use the Disney magic to time travel.
Yeah, that's one of the things people say is a fault of that contemporary theme. So they've struggled with it sometimes in the past. And there was one famous thing we should mention. I almost forgot to mention this off the top, but if we're talking about the past, there is one of the most famous, because we talked about historical moments of the Grand Floridian. Do you know who Richard Nixon is?
Yes.
Who is he?
The president, the one that actually stepped down instead of getting impeached.
Oh, I'm impressed you know that.
Because Congress voted to impeach him, but then the Senate didn't agree with the vote.
Wow, look at you. I like that. Now, in 1973, I looked up the date, November 17th, when he was being just before he stepped down. He was doing a speech there. He stopped.
Really?
Yeah, and that's where his famous line, "I'm not a crook," came when they were accusing him of things. And that was in the Contemporary Resort.
Really?
So when you look in the history of the Contemporary
History is being
Resort,
made.
that's always one of the things that
I'm just saying, out
this
of all
famous
of the
speech
option,
was made
the
there.
president decided to stay at the Contemporary versus the Polynesian.
He didn't stay there. He just was there doing a speech.
Well,
Now
he
let
said
me
to go
ask
there
you, I
versus
want
the
to ask you one
Polynesian.
more thing before we run out of time on this episode. Is there anything that you do not like about the Contemporary or that you would change if you could?
You know, I don't know what I'd give it more of a lobby.
What do you mean by more of a lobby? It's got the biggest lobby of any hotel.
I'd make the lobby more inviting.
How would you do that?
Because it has the biggest lobby, but the lobby is not really a place that people go to sit and hang out, like, say, the Grand Floridian lobby or the Polynesian
wait a
lobby.
minute. Now, we talked about this in our lobbies episode.
That's where, yeah, I think.
Are you talking about the actual lobby where you check in?
Yes.
Or are you talking about the concourse level where all
No,
the stores
the actual
are?
lobby.
Oh, you are. Okay, so you're talking about the actual lobby on the ground floor.
Can you tell me one person who goes and hangs out in that lobby?
Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody. Name one person, please.
The lobby really, the way people think of lobbies is really the concourse level, right? The shopping. Shopping level.
And I think that lobby is more like a lobby at non-Disney hotel.
Yeah, it's sort of a generic.
So I have friends who listen to the podcast and they're like, why'd you do an episode on lobbies? Lobbies are so boring. Why would you do that? But they've never gone to a Disney lobby. Or maybe they've just seen the Contemporary and thought...
That's the only one they saw.
And thought, generic lobby.
Yeah, there's not much. The only thing I don't really love, which I don't think they can change, is, and I don't even know if you've noticed, is the convention center. Do you even notice it there?
What's the convention center?
So there's a convention center attached to the hotel, and it's right at the front, just to the right of the front doors when you walk into the main hotel. Yeah, I don't like where it is. I find it sort of ugly, stuck off the front, and it wasn't always there. So maybe only because I have history with it, and whereas the one at the Grand Floridian is very elegant and off to the side. I just don't like the Contemporary one, but that's a small thing to nitpick. And I want to add one more thing before we go. The club level at the Contemporary is quite good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Tower and Atrium clubs. They're very, very good. That is, if you are planning on staying there, it's a tough call between that one and Polynesian if we're comparing those two.
No, it's not.
Well, I sort of like the Polynesian one, just the style of it, like Mummy does. However, the Contemporary one, if you can get a theme park view, that's the one, because it's at the very, very top 2 floors, then I would opt for the theme park view if I'm in club level.
The Contemporary is in my top 5. The Polynesian barely makes my top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Contemporary's in my top...
I think Contemporary... No, it's number 3 for me.
I'll have to think about it later. I can't remember where the Polynesian falls in my top 5. It's probably in my top 5, maybe, barely. If it is, it's 5th.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing.
I don't know offhand, but we won't do that in this episode today. Is there anything else you want to cover about the Contemporary that we haven't mentioned on our Whirlwind Tour Insider's Guide?
I think the Contemporary is It's an icon for Disney. When you see those Disney pictures, you see the Epcot ball, you see the castle, you see the Grand, and you see the Contemporary.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would say that if you are leaning against it for any reasons from things you read, don't believe a lot of it. I would definitely say if you stay at the Contemporary, I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy your stay there. Assuming you want to, the flexibility of walking to the Magic Kingdom, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I'm planning a hypothetical vacation with my best friend, and we're staying there.
It's probably the best value in that whole loop area.
It's
just
the best
on pure
value
value
because it's not as expensive as, say, the Grand Floridian.
It's a great and underrated resort hotel. So definitely our closing message to you is consider Disney's Contemporary Resort if you have not stayed there. Yeah, stay there. We like it. Even
stay there, try
stay there,
it.
You get a sense of it. Both good resort hotels, but we prefer the main tower to the DVC, even though we stay at the DVC a lot. All right, my friends. I think that is it for this week's episode. A little quick insider's look at Disney's Contemporary Resort Hotel. We hope you enjoyed it. And as always, check us out on social media at 1923 Main Street and
check out our Patreon.
Our Patreon page at patreon.com/1923 Main Street. And if you want to support us, we would love it. And of course, share our links to our shows with your friends if you enjoy the show, because that really helps us too. We like getting new listeners. So thanks everyone for listening, and we hope you have a magical day.
Bye-bye.